Hi. Let's go! Hello, hello, how are you guys? It is indeed not Battle Cats gameplay, so if you're not here for Battle Cats, just get the fuck out. Now loading screen. Oh, Brett, thank you for how many months? 8 months. Thank you. It's been a while. Damn, that's quite a while. Thank you for the Prime. Hey guys, speaking of Prime, do you guys know that if you have Amazon Prime, you can have a free if you connect it to a Twitch account, and then you can you can get like a free sub, and you can use it on like your favorite streamer. I mean, it doesn't have to be me, but I mean I am streaming right now, so I've been addicted to Doom Eternal. Oh, Doom. That kind of reminds me of like the recent, well, not recent, I guess, but like the somewhat sort of recent drama with Mick Gordon. That was interesting for sure. I wasn't actually there for like the entire drama for like the Doom Eternal Mick Gordon problem, whatever. But I think Ludwig brought it up recently because of something, I don't remember. It was because of the Quite situation, I think. He brought up the Mick Gordon thing, and I was like, oh yeah, that was the thing that happened. And that was actually something kind of crazy. That's crazy, something steal Jeff Bezos' money. Exactly! Jeff Bezos have way too much money. Get his money instead to buy Twitch subs. I share a Prime code, so I can't use my Prime sub. Well, I don't understand how it works, honestly. I don't have an Amazon Prime. What are we doing today? It's as the title says. I want to do a Battle Cats tarot card drawing. The problem is I haven't actually prepared like anything at all. Okay, let me just move to the normal screen. Okay, I have not actually prepared anything at all. Nerdcat is still there. I probably should move the Nerdcat a little bit because this was from my previous Hacknet stream. Let's see. I'm just gonna move you. I'm just gonna make you smaller. There we go. That's fine. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, I haven't prepared anything, but like this was an idea that I had for quite a while. Honestly, I kind of want to see people making like tarot cards of like Battle Cats unit, and I thought that would be cool. But I think I saw like a couple of tarot card Battle Cats art from like a very long time ago, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone go like really all out on it, and I don't think I'm going to go all out on it either, because it's like there's like 80 tarot cards. There's a lot of tarot cards. I don't think I'm going through like all of them. What else was I gonna say? Alright, speaking of Hacknet too, that reminds me, what I have been doing like this entire day is that I've been working with my audio, because if you watch my previous Hacknet stream, okay, just right now, if any of you have any kind of like technical issues in my stream, like my stream is lagging or my audio is going badly or anything like that, please like spam it on the chat, because I probably would not know. Also, I'm gonna take off my glasses. Because like last time my Hacknet stream was something like this. Hold on. Hello guys, I'm pretty sure this is gonna sound really bad. I can't actually tell if this sounds bad or not in my end, but I'm pretty sure this sounds terrible. That was, I think, what happened on my last Hacknet stream. Yeah. That was what happened on my last Hacknet stream. It was like an entire stream, like was it like an entire 1 or 2 hours of that audio. It was really, really bad, and nobody on the chat pointed it out. And so I only figured out that I had an audio problem after the stream. After the stream ended, and then I rewatched the stream and I was like, what the fuck happened with my audio? It was so bad. Yeah, it's good now, because I actually figured out what the problem is. But like last stream, that happened for like an entire hour or two. And I didn't know. Nobody pointed it out, or maybe I didn't read it if anybody did pointed it out. So I was like, shit, that stream was like unusable now. That stream was fucking terrible. That was unwatchable. So that happened, and after I was done, I was like, yeah, I gotta find a time to like fix my audio. So that was what I was doing, pretty much my entire evening. Hacknet was a living force to screw with Lucas. I kind of want to continue Hacknet, but like, maybe I'll jump onto another game after all. Are you going to Komifuro? Komifuro is on May, right? Do I need to buy a ticket for Komifuro? I'm actually not sure. I go to the website and I don't see any place to buy tickets. Like, do I need to buy tickets or not? Yeah? I don't see a... Where... Is the ticket booth, like, not open yet? Because I tried to go to the website and I can't click on, like, the ticket section. Is it just not open yet? Because it's like on May, right? What's Komifuro? It's basically kind of like a Comic-Con sort of deal, but a little bit more weep. I don't think it's open yet, but there should be online tickets. Really? I don't... I went to their website. Hold on. Let me see if I can open this. It's Komifuro 16, wasn't it? Yeah, here. Oh, also, new musics. This one is music from Everslash, which is a game that I played offline, which you might know because I posted it on Twitter, but I only made like one tweet about it, so who knows. I played Everslash off stream. It was a good game. It was way too short though, but it was still good, and the music is good. So it's like right here, it's like there's like a ticket button right here at the top, but I can't press it. It's like it goes nowhere, and there's nowhere else. This is like circle registration. I'm pretty sure this is if you want to have a stand, right? Corporate booth, circle registration, and then the catalog. But there's no place to buy tickets. Where do I buy tickets here? I don't see it. It's like, okay, there's the catalog, except that it doesn't work. So, like, what's the deal? I love Indonesian website, yeah. So, I have no idea where to buy the tickets. It's like, Komifuro, buy ticket. It's like, it just goes back to the official website. And there's like a Twitter, I guess, but I don't think there's a Twitter post for like the current Komifuro, so... Yeah, I have no idea. I don't see it. I don't see it. It might just not be up for sale yet. Who knows? The music sounds like just shapes and beats. I never played that game, but I have heard of the music, I think, from Shapes and Beats. I'm gonna buy my plane ticket, so if you're gonna come, I'll say hi soon. Okay, that would be nice. I'm still not sure if I will go or not, though. It's May 6th and 7th, right? Which is on Saturday and Sunday, so I can definitely go if it's on weekends. I'll see about it. I might, like, drag my friends, too. Who knows? They might be interested, because I'm pretty sure probably some Holo ID is gonna be there. Anyways, where was I? Let's do tarot cards, I guess. I've been playing Pony Island, short game, it was enjoyable. How short is Pony Island? I am interested in playing it. That's the only reason why I'm gonna have, no more leave? But it's on weekends, though. Oh, that's the reason why I'm going, I have no more leave. Okay, I get it. Oh my god, I have not prepared anything at all. Let me get the drink real quick. Oh right, I forgot. So for dinner earlier I brought. We are not going to start the art, but I need to drink anyways. So I'm drinking Coke. I ordered burger for dinner, right? And when I was ordering the burger, I don't think I have the picture on me, but when I was ordering the burger, I also ordered Coca-Cola, right? And when I pressed the check to buy Coke, there's a warning that came out of the app that says like, to buy this product, you need to be 21 years old and above. By pressing OK, you are now confirming that you are 21 years old or above. And I'm like, what am I buying? Is this like, what's wrong with this Coke? What's with this Coke? Does this have like alcohol? Is this like actual like cocaine? What the fuck is going on? It's not a normal Coke. No, it is Coke. It's just a cocaine kind of Coke. Third part list. Maybe we should do that. Okay, sadly, I can't stay much for long. I'll have to do the Terraria with friends. Alright, see ya, Brett. Have fun with Terraria. Coke with a bit of Coke. Maybe. Who knows? Coke is more mature than alcohol. Yeah, it's like, you just don't drink Coke. Okay, maybe I guess we can... Okay, so there's 22 major arcana of tarot cards and 56 of minor arcana. So I guess we're mainly going for the major arcana then? Major arcana, the Fool, the Juggler? Oh, the Magician. The Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, or the Queen, the Emperor, or the King, Hierophant, Lovers, Chariot, or Osiris? Chariot? Yeah, I think it is Chariot. Chariot, Justice, Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Strength, Hangman, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and of course, Zawarudo. Oh no. Hi, I want to offer promotion. You guys want to be famous, dude? You guys want to be famous? Unfortunate. I already took it. Mine now. All the promotions are now mine. I wonder what Lucas will do for lovers. I actually don't... I'm pretty sure it's like... A lot of these aren't really as it sounds. From what I remember, like for example, like the Fool. If I'm not mistaken, like the Fool is supposed to be smart. Rather, I think. There's like different reasoning behind it. Let me try to look like tarot card meaning, maybe? Okay, maybe I'll show it on stream, I guess. Let's see. Instead of just giving you blank space the entire time. Tarot card major arcana meanings. Major arcana tarot card meanings. There we go. I wanted to be famous. You already have verified. No longer need famous. Alright, so it's like the Fool. Beginnings, innocence, spontaneity, a free spirit. The Lovers. Love, harmony, relationship, values, alignment, choices, whatever that means. The Hermit. Soul searching, introspection, being alone, inner guidance. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Damn, this music's so good. The Fool is young and vulnerable. He has not experienced the ups and downs of life, leaving him unaware of the magnitude of life's challenges as well as the potential he holds. When the Fool comes up in a tarot reading, you are encouraged to take on his open, willing energy and embrace all that lies ahead of you without worry. Seems like people have kind of different ways to get it. I guess it's kind of like innocence in a way. The Fool should be Z medals because vulnerable and so what? No, I don't think so. I think it's better to just have it as units. Did you stream of Binding of Isaac? I don't know, maybe. It seems okay. The fool should be slime. I feel like the fool should be Kai. I feel like this is something that fits Kai. Reverse recklessness taken advantage of in consideration. Wait, I have an idea. What if I make it like, since it's if it's upright, it's innocent, and reverse, it's like recklessness and taken advantage of. What if I do it kind of like this? So this is just a draft, but what if it's like so it's like this, right? It's like the fool. What if I have it like Hull, where if it's upright, this would be Moneko. But if it's upside down, this would be Craze Moneko. that would be kind of funny, I think. Yes, upside down. If it's up, it's Moneko. It's down, Craze Moneko. The magician is Lilith. What is magician? Magician: willpower, desire, creation, manifestation, reverse trickery, illusions, out of touch. What? It's a reminder that you are unique and have many gifts. These skill sets you apart from the crowd and can help you begin new projects or overcome adversity. When the magician comes up in the tarot reading, it's a reminder that you already hold everything you need to move forward and accomplish what you set out to do. The most intuitive connected card that you are aware of the card will follow your instinct with your mind knows. You think with this card, stop looking for answers and turn within the guidance you seek. Dastly? The High Priestess should be Dastly? Maybe the Magician is Dastly. Just like it's a reminder that you already hold everything you need to move forward and accomplish what you've set out to do. It's like if you already have Dastly, you don't need anything else. Manifestation, resourcefulness, power, inspired action. It's Dastly. All right, I'm just gonna like write down my the drafts then first. So it's like Magician. It's just Dastly. Well, I guess I could just write this down, but it's fine. I'll just write it down like that. Hi Astrip, how are you doing? She does some dark magic and makes battle cats scare really easily. Yeah, that's true. The Empress should be Princess Cat. I mean, we already have Empress technically, I guess. High Priestess, the most intuitive connected card in the whole tarot deck. It's a card of awareness. This card urges you to listen to your inner voice and follow your instinct. No, stop. Intuitive, unconscious inner voice. Inner voice? Sacred knowledge, divine feminine, the subconscious mind. What? Is there anything else that I can go with? Divine feminine, human wisdom, studying nature, spiritual mystery, one's inner world. Could be Mammon. I guess it is like the easiest way to do it because it is Priestess Mammon. Good luck navigating through websites like these. Oh, what's wrong? High Priestess tells you to Uber carry. I feel like Emperor and Empress cards are the easiest ones. I'd like it if it's more creative. We'll have to see about it. Studying nature's spiritual mystery, one's inner world. I guess we'll leave it as Mammon for now. So... like, Priestess. It is Mammon. Why do I write it down like this? I should just, like, write this down on, like, a text. Like in a notepad or something. That's fine. Whatever. It gives a funny visual. Even though there's nothing in there. Next one is the Empress. Nature, the Great Mother. Fertility, a channel for the High Priestess on Earth. What the fuck does that mean? Motherhood, fertility, nature. Dependence, mothering, emptiness, nosiness. It's the most feminine card in the tarot and greatly encourages compassion, beauty, and love. She's deeply connected to Mother Nature, and her influence is powerful when you absorb the energy of the natural world around you. Gaia? Yeah, that makes sense, because Gaia is kind of like Earth, you know. Yeah, Gaia is basically Earth, after all. Gaia is very much connected to Earth. Feminine beauty, nature, nurturing, abundance. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, let's do Gaia for this. Also, just note again, I'm probably not gonna like do like every card currently, because there's 22 of them, and I draw relatively slow, so don't expect much. What was it again? Empress. Empress. But I'll try to finish a couple of it at least. Asterisk, don't bring up viewer. I get your point, but like, don't bring up viewer count. That's just not nice. The Emperor. I guess if we put Empress as Gaia, having Emperor as Emperor Cat feels a bit weird now. The Emperor is a card of leadership and power. He's an authoritative force who have been through many experiences to achieve this status. He represents structure and solidity and reminds you that you too hold immense amounts of power over your own life and what happens to it. What? In the most practical terms, Emperor card represents the highest leadership, a head of state, and most exemplary and powerful person in the realm. This archetypal ruler is responsible for the affairs of society and community, which are directly proportional to his well-being and happiness. The more enlightenment and cosmic perspective this energy brings, the better life is for all. The Emperor archetype masters the world of matter and physical manifestation. When you apply this card into your situation, acknowledge your potentials for mastery. Reinforce a sense of sovereignty, what the hell does this mean, within yourself despite any self-limiting beliefs, habits, or appearance to the contrary. Is it weird to say that I can kind of relate this to like guide makers? Let me get a drink again. The Emperor card represents the highest leadership. Responsible for the affairs of society and community. Huh. Lucas? What are tarot cards exactly? Oh, yeah, I guess it's not that, like, thing that has been super relevant recently, huh? Tarot cards are basically kind of like, these are like this set of cards that are usually used for, like readings, kind of like fortune readings kind of deal, you know? Let's see if it's like explained here or anything. Yeah, okay, well, originally it was used to play games, but it was mostly nowadays more known for kind of like a fortune reading. So it's like you would deal some couple of cards from the tarot card deck, usually from the major arcana deck, which contains 22 cards, and each of these cards have their own meaning, and it also depends on whether you pull these cards upright or upside down. So for example, if you pull the Fool, that means your future has something to do with having innocence or something new. But if you pull it upside down, that may mean that you may do something reckless in the future. Kind of something like that. That's kind of like how the reading goes. And usually a lot of people likes to make fan arts of, you know, stuff with tarot cards, and one of the most easiest example is JoJo. Because every stand in part 3, I think almost every stand in part 3 are based off tarot cards. You know how the main stand, Star Platinum, is based off Star, or there's like the World, who is Dio. You know, Dio's the World, or Polnar of Silver's Chariot, which is based off the Chariot Arcana. Yeah, stuff like that, yeah. Pretty much all of them, yeah. I'm really confused. It's fine. I just thought it would be cool if someone draws fan arts of Arcanas. T-Boy is my first exposure to tarot cards, and I watched JoJo Part 3. Oh yeah! I have seen... yeah, there are tarot cards in Binding of Isaacs, aren't there? Do you know the game Kindergarten? I think they have them as well. Kindergarten? Kindergarten? Is this like a horror game? I think I have seen these, but this seems... I'm not really sure if I should show that on stream. Maybe that's fine. T-Boy also have reverse tarots. Oh, okay, interesting. T-Boy have normal and reverse, but I don't remember what the regular one does. Oh, okay. But yeah, it's like... Yeah, it depends on what you draw and whether you draw them upright or upside down. It's like, it basically kind of tells you what your futures are. It's a pretty bloody game, I see. It's one of those. Where are we? Oh, right, Emperor. What should we put as Emperor? Why is Lucas Icon not a tarot card? I don't know. What do you want from me? What? You are invisible and anything you touch will turn into invisible, but nobody will remember that you existed? What are you talking about? Did you make yourself? Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean by did I make myself? I think Hangman turns you into a keeper? It was practical towards the Emperor card represent the highest leadership of the states, archetypal ruler. You could do Cat Emperor or any Emperor. That would be the easiest way, but I would like it if it's a little bit more deep. Leadership and power. Who has been through many experiences too. Wait a second. I think I know, actually. How about... Uriel? Or Eulala? One of those. Technically, Eulala is the head of the clan, while Uriel is like the head of the tower, I guess. Either Eulala or Uriel, I think, could work. Because like it represents leadership. Should be Catgut. Catgut could also be a good choice. Urs and Ururun are both in clans. Yeah, and technically Yulala is the current leader, even if Urs is technically from the past. Uriel sounds good. It's either Uriel or Yulala, I think. Just like... I think Yulala is supposed to be the clan leader, I think. Second, I think it's on the JP one? Yeah, head of the clan who guards the Heavenly Tower. So Yulala is technically the head of the clan. I think Uriel is like retired currently. What about Headmaster Jane? Headmaster's not as cool as like leader of a clan, right? Headmaster's not as cool as a leader of a clan, so I'm gonna give Emperor to Yulala. Emperor Yulala. Wouldn't it be funny if I gave Yulala a gun? Because that's how Emperor is on JoJo. Clan leader, I need to keep open my Battle Cat store. It's specifically only mentioned in the Japanese description. In the EN description, it only says Sacred Guardian of the Heavenly Tower. But on JP, it actually specifically mentions that it's the head of the clan. And that Uriel gave his title to Yulala. What if they have a gun? Holy guacamole, a JoJo reference! Holy shit! Yulala's attacks hurt as much as a gun. Put a gun on the top of his staff. It's just like taped into his staff. That would be kind of funny. Next one, Hierophant. How do you spell this? Hierophant? Hierophant. Hierophant is like a messenger from the heavens. He is experienced in spirituality and guidance. And his job is to bring these lessons down to us here in the real world. When the Hierophant comes into your tarot reading, you're encouraged to follow the rules and find a spiritual To follow the rules and find a spiritual perspective of your current situation. Hierophant Tarot, this card refers to a master and the learning of practical lessons from the study of natural law. This energy of this card points to some agent or resource that can reveal the secrets of life cycle. Between monasteries were the only place could learn to read and write was one who was student with petition for entry, was one who set curriculum. Often pictured with the right hand raised in blessing. Okay, I guess this is important. Often pictured with the right hand raised in blessing. Hierophant is linked with the ancient lineage, the one who passes the teaching. All shamans of any traditions draw upon this archetype. The Hierophant advises you to return to the role of a meticulous student. Learn everything you can about your chosen area. Let that knowledge become a part of you, and this way you can slowly earn your respect by... I guess it's something about learning then, I guess. Warlock and Pierre or Vegler? Why would that be the case? Ew, Google? Sanzo? I don't think so. A master and the learning of practical lessons. Ganesha? Why Ganesha? Hierophant is Cat Jobs. Oh, Cat Jobs is actually pretty good. I actually like Cat Jobs. Yeah, Cat Jobs could actually work very well. The Metal Buster, Sakura? I mean, she is a student, but I don't think she's really that focused on, like, studying. At least that's not, like, her team or sort. I think Cat Jobs would be good. Studying. It's like the only other things that I can think about are, I guess, are, like, Galaxy Gals. Yes, they are also students, but I think Cat Jobs is fine. So it's like, hire a friend. Have like Cat Jobs. There we go. It needs a beard. And also, there we go. The new Academy unit. Oh yeah, that is true too. No, but I think Catch-Ups is better. I think Catch-Ups is a little bit... Catch-Ups is a little bit more iconic too. The fucking nerd emote. When is the monthly lolly stream? You know, next month probably. Are they gonna do reverse ones? Probably not. I think it's a bit too much. I think I'll do Moneko for the reverse ones, but the others having reverse, I think it's a bit too much. Catch-Ups is so goofy. Catch-Ups is funny. I guess you can do units or enemies too. I think anything is fine, as long as it fits. But I think enemies are a little bit like... Enemies are a little bit of a deeper dive, because a lot of the lores in enemies have like absolutely nothing to do with the animals themselves and stuff like that, so it's like... Lovers. Lovers represents the close relationship in your life. If it comes up in your tarot reading, your love life is in need of extra attention. However, this is just as much a card about your values and decisions. You may find the lovers come up when you are at the crossroads. Consider all the possibilities. What? Oh no, this video is age restricted and only available on YouTube. What is going on in the lovers here? Lovers gotta be slapsticks. Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Although it's taken on a strictly romantic version of meaning in some... Oh, okay, wait, why is the... Did the OBS thing play? I didn't hear it. Maybe the music is way too loud. Maybe I set the music way too loud, but... thank you for... how many months? 14 months, goddamn! Thank you for 14 months, Chaos. I only join the stream like once a month anyway. You need to make Tower Bomber Cat? I'll see about it later. Thank you for the suggestion, and thank you for the 14 months. Damn, it's been quite a while. Where was I? Lower Tower represents the challenges of choosing a partner. At a crossroads, one cannot take both parts. The images on this card, different decks have married one another because we have so many ways to looking at sexual relationships. Energy of this card reminds us the real challenge posed by a romantic relationship. Protagonist often shows in the act of making either or choice. Partake of higher ideal often requires sacrificing the lesser options. The path to pleasure eventually leads to destruction from spiritual... What? Gratification of personal eventually gives away the cult spirit. Modern decks tend to portray the feeling of romantic love with this card showing Adam and Eve at the gates of Eden when everything was still perfect. This interpretation portrays humanity before the fall and can be thought to imply a different sort of choice. The choice of evolution over perfection, or the choice of personal growth through relationship instead of fantasy where everything falls to... What? We cat are lovers. Chocolate ID? That could work. I mean, oh shit, naked people, I just realized. No, let's not. Okay, so the way the lovers... okay, how about this? If it's like... So the way the lovers was structured earlier... there was like... Eve was right here, then Adam was right here, and then there's like an angel right here, sorta, where they go, it's like, yeah, ooh. So, what if it's just like, I guess these two are like drama cats? And this is Afro or Chocolate Ivy? I guess Chocolate Ivy. So it's three cat units. It's Chocolate Ivy and then there's drama cats here. One slapstick, two slapstick, Chocolate Ivy in the middle. Yeah, basically. First Love Mercia? No, I think Chocolate Ivy would fit better. No, actually! No, First Love Mercia also makes a lot of sense. Go for Cupid. Oh, that is true too. Cupid cat, huh? No, yeah, fuck it. Let's do Cupid cat. We don't want too much Ubers. I think having more cat-like units is nice. Yeah, let's go with Cupid cat instead. There we go. This is still drama cats though. There we go. What is a tarot card? Oh my god, I'm actually surprised not a lot of people know what tarot cards are. I've already explained this earlier, so I'm just gonna give a TLDR. It's a set of cards that are currently, in modern times, is mainly used for fortune telling, fortune reading. It's like you draw cards and they have their own meanings. That's basically the gist of it. Was there a Cupid cat in BC? It's Archer Cat. It's Evolved Archer Cat. But the NFTs, oh no. I don't think I'm doing reverse versions. Cause usually there is no reverse version of tarot cards usually. It's just like, well, if you take it reverse, then you take it reverse. It's like there is no different card for reversed, you know? Where are we? Emperor, Hierophant, Lovers, Chariot. Chariot, direction, control, willpower. Controlling opposing forces, willpower, resolving conflict, travel. Chariot card is connected to your natural drive and determination and can indicate an upcoming victory. This card reminds you that your greatest successes won't come through limited thinking. When you combine the knowledge of your mind with that of your heart and spirit, you are an unstoppable force. The Chariot tarot card, triumphal feelings of freedom. As if the charioteer is being paraded through the streets as a hero. This card reflects the congratulations for high achievement and serves as a sign of empowerment. Huge wheels and frisky steeds speed the rate at which the driver's willpower can be realized. This kind of charge makes more of the world accessible to one ambitious enough to seize the chariot's reins. But there is danger in this feeling of freedom because of the increased rate of change and its to magnify mistakes and As the seasoned warrior, the charioteer is called upon to be extra attentive with the way ahead. Be prepared for changes that might include a move or an opportunity to travel. Travel's light and stays open to fresh experiences that change with every valley or mountain pass. You may be asked to live out a suitcase or consider every place your home for a while. Be receptive to new people who come into your life, most especially because most especially become more fluid and taste the joys of freedom. The charioteer is nothing if not self-sufficient. Prepared and self-contained for the changes that will sweep in and carry you with them. King Wawa, Bullet Train, or Cowcat? 80 as it took Pong? To get, but now that you... But now that you have, after a long journey, victory is assured? Teacher Bunbun, Manic Lion, Warlock, and Pierre. Warlock and Pierre being dragged by Warlock? What are the Iron Legions? Ooh, Iron Legion is really hard to draw though. You know what I was thinking? That I thought would be kind of funny? What if it's Kai? Because she's riding a pig. This kind of charge makes the world more accessible and ambitious enough to seize the chariot's reins. Masamune, that is a good one too, actually. Masamune is actually a pretty good one because he also have like spike cores and stuff. Wasn't Kai gonna be Fool? No, Kai, Fool is now Maneko. The chariot advises you to be prepared for changes that might include a move or an opportunity to travel. Control, willpower, success, action, determination. Ooh, this is... maybe not Kai, actually. School bus Nyandem, it would fit the... It's like, a lot of the cards are like... It's easy to want to find cards that actually fits their art, but having cards that actually fits their meaning, I think, is more interesting. It's like, it's really easy to put just like any kind of units that write something for Chariot or stuff like that. It's like, yeah, obviously. But having something that like actually fits the meaning, I think would be cooler. Cat Clan? Why Cat Clan? Controlling opposing forces, willpower, resolving conflict, and travel. You have to control your Abraham type. Saber? I think I would try to avoid collab units in general. I think including collab units would be a bit weird. Is there a cat unit that is on travel? What do you mean by... Oh, like... I don't know, actually. It's like, Can I, what if I just, like, search the Battle Cats wiki for, like, travel? What does that do? Wandering Traveler. Time Traveler? Grateful Crane? Terme Pirate? There is this! How about Papa Luga? Why Papa Luga? Vars is just a cat hat for the rider, yep. Pied Piper Cat Travels. Oh, I guess. Lone Cat and Kitten. That's actually kind of a funny one, too. Lone Cat. Because I guess technically the little kitten is, like, riding something. Master Assassin who wanders the park with his cheeky child seeking vengeance. And I guess Tourist is also kind of a traveler. Cat Clown is on a quest? I guess. Yeah, that is also partially true. Gamma Toto? Huh. That's interesting. Gamma Toto. Yeah, actually, Gamma Toto is a really good idea, actually. Yeah. We'll do Gamma Toto. That's a very good idea. Yeah. That's a very good idea. Let's do Gamma Toto. Good thinking out of the box. That's a good one. That's a good suggestion. So, Chariot. It's well, shit. Gamma Toto have a lot of costumes. We're just gonna fucking, I don't know, it was like the pickaxe or some shit. Gamma Toto. I'll just write GMTT. And then I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna think like, what the fuck, what did I write? There we go. Gamma Toto. Gamma Toto is Chariot now. Gamma Toto realized the horrors of war at a bait cafe. Man, what happened to people sharing Gamma Toto logs? People haven't been doing that as much. That was fun. that was a fun little thing that happened. Gamma Toto and his whole man with the big forehead. Next one is Strength. Strength card represents courage. Fortitude of your heart and your ability to withstand anything your life hands you. If this card rises in your tarot reading, you're reminded you are strong enough to handle whatever you are facing and will come out of it with even more power than you had before. I think the easy pick for this is Gao. Bahamut? I would say Gao, honestly, especially with the picture of like the lion. Either like Gao or like Garu or something like that. Titan Cat? Cradle, as you either needs to be strong or bringing your kids in battle? Courier Cat? Nah. I think Gao would be better. I think something they gotta glow up like Archer Cat makes more sense. We already used Archer Cat for lovers though. Isn't Garu more accurate? I think so. I think Garu would probably be more accurate. Garu or maybe specifically Dark Garu, because Dark Garu have strengthened, right? Dark Garu have strengthened, so he's, you know, strength. Valkyrie's true form? Why? Oh no, did I miss anything? Not really. What about Zeus being the king of strength? Zeus is... Big Shield Lion, yeah, exactly. Does normal Garu have strengthened? I totally forgot about if that's the case or not. He doesn't, right? Yeah, he doesn't. Only Dark Garu have it. I guess we can do Dark Garu then, because he has strengthened, which kind of fits. Strength card advises you to assertively discipline yourself and separate self-interest from wisdom. Deliberately identify with your intuition if it means work against your desires or your willful ego. Demand and expect the same from others with willpower in a situation you're gonna challenge them to a higher standard. Yeah, I'll give it to Daru. I'll give it to Dark Garu. Balrog for big strengthen? No, but it's a lion though. I think it fits Daru better. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Like big angry doggo. I'll just type that over here. True for Valkyrie, she was working with the Doge army because she was scared. What? Because she was scared? Wait, what do you mean she was scared? I would say normal Garu because D Garu is more about loss than power. A vision of despair by one who could not protect those who are most dear to them. Tough versus ruthless. What was Garu like? They plan to help us with all his power. He might be small now, regardless. If one dear Garu will lend his immense strength, immense might to defend you. Tough versus destroy the great community. I guess both can work. Garu but dog. She was scared of the Doge army's strength? What? Wasn't the case of like... Wasn't something about Valkyrie turning corrupted? Was that she entered like a party and got drunk or something like that? What? Where do you get the... Wait, what? Where do you get the story that she was scared of the Doge army? What? Hold on, okay, now I have to fact check. I'm pretty sure her backstory of being corrupted Valkyrie is like just... She's just stupid. Received the Dockland Swifnir as a gag gift at the bachelorette party. Her mind is now clouded with rage against all things feline. What part of this is her being scared of the Doge army? What? She was given a fucking cursed item in a fucking party. The Doge's corrupted her mind. Okay, yes, that's true. But it has nothing to do with her being scared of the Doge army. What? True Cat Valkyrie? I don't think that's the case either. Valkyrie Cat true form. The curse is broken and the savior of Catkind has returned. What fanfiction were you reading? Bro. Anyways. Alright, I don't know if I want to keep Garu or Dark Garu. I could also do Baby Garu, honestly. Baby Garu could also work. I think it would be kind of funny to have Baby Garu. I think I like the D more. Yeah, keep going. What are you saying? Aren't they the same thing, being Dark Garu and normal Garu the same person? Well, English please? Why are you making tarot cards? Because I thought it's funny. Yeah, because it's funny. It's like, it's as simple as that. I just think it's funny. Let's... Okay, I'll change it to Garu, I think. I'll change it to Garu. There we go. The fast variants are different characters from my knowledge. Yeah, they're basically kind of like on a different, different like what-if scenario kind of deal. The Hermit. Okay, well, you know, the Hermit years to be alone. He knows that the only way process what is happening in life in withdraw units. Okay, well. Yeah, well, I think it's difficult to put literally anything other than the Hermit Cat here, right? Like, it's the Hermit. It has to be Hermit Cat. I don't think you can put, yeah, it's Hermit Cat. Oh no, my screen died. Okay, it's back. Hermit Cat, obviously, is the fucking no gacha man himself. I've seen Hermit so much that I actually kind of remember how he looks like without even looking at the reference. Kind of crazy. I think it's something like this, the staff? Something like that, right? Something like that. There you go. Hermit's design is iconic. It really is. It's really simple, but like I've seen Hermit so much that I fully remember what he looks like. Hermit or Masked Hermit? I think I'll just do normal Hermit. Banger design, really is. Peak design. Should we do Masked Hermit? I feel like normal Hermit would be fine. I think first form Hermit is fine. Alright. That was a fast one to decide. Next one. The mask here, he is ugly. Keep normal Hermit. Yeah. I think the mask kind of makes it like not as iconic. Although it's still cool. Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is constantly revolving. Sometimes you'll be at the top, sometimes you'll be at the bottom. This tarot card reminds you that nothing is permanent, good or bad. You must cherish the lessons that this moment is bringing you. Cyclical change. The wheel keeps on rolling, churning events. No one can escape his cyclical action. The only part of the wheel that's actually not going up and down is the hub, which represents your eternal self. Wheel Cat, Gotcha Cat, Kronos is a pretty good one. Kasajizo? Ebisu because of randomness? Bahamut, Craze Bahamut. Why do you guys keep on suggesting Bahamut on like literally everything? You will hit or just miss. Catasaurus gotta rely on that crit luck. Vigler? Vigler was actually what I'm thinking too. But... One of the main things that I think also about Vigler is, aside from him going up and down, is also the fact that his freeze chance before true form is 50-50. And it's, you know, it's a Wheel of Fortune. Fidget Spinner Man? Oh, you mean Masamune? I don't know about that. Pekoluga? I don't know about that either. Wildcat Slot. That would be kind of funny, actually. This is just like, it's just a fucking Wildcat Slot. I mean, Wildcat Slot is kind of rigged though. It's like you always win on Wildcat Slot. Cyclops, because of Cyclops is a pretty funny one. Hurricane. One of the Cyclones. I think Hurricane would be kind of funny, because not only that it's a very RNG machine, it also spins. Variety Wear, Summer Luga. I think Hurricane is a pretty good choice. I think it's, in my opinion, it's either Hurricane or Vigler. And then immediately the slog breaks. Wasn't there a Luck Cat? I'd assume you're talking about Ebisu. Ebisu is also a pretty good choice, but I think Hurricane is more perfect because Hurricane spins and is RNG. I think I'll go with Hurricane. Wheel of Fortune. Good luck, karma, life cycles, destiny, a turning point. Upright, change, cycles, inevitable. Inevitable. Wheel of Fortunes. Imminent and often positive change. The inevitable seasons and cycles of life, beginning and endings. I'll go with Hurricane. There's a lot of like good choices for RNG, but I think just the fact that Hurricane is RNG and spins, I think it's funny. So I'm gonna do... Okay, so Wheel of Fortune is gonna be Hurricane. There we go. Gacha cat? No, I think... Or are you talking about specifically like the rare capsule gacha? No, actually, if it's like, it's not the unit, but it's just the rare gacha itself, rather than the unit, that's actually also kind of funny. Like, not the cat, it's literally just like the gacha system. Not the cat. Just actually the gacha screen, you know? Yeah, okay, let's see if it's like, make it look like it's an 11 roll, you know? I think it looks something like this, right? And there's like several behind it as well. And like all of them also have like the spin thing. It's just gonna be the 11 draw. Gacha itself count. Yeah, it's like, it's not the cat unit gacha. It's just straight up like 11 draw. Let me get a drink. You need to draw 9 because Ponos tried to trick us into thinking there's 10, but it's only 9. Is there only 9? Maybe there's one like right behind the frontmost one. Limitless gold cap. No, it's just gacha cap. Okay, so that's Wheel of Fortune. Next one is Justice. Justice is your firm but fair reminder that there is consequences for every action. Whatever life is handing you at the moment comes from decisions you and others have made in the past, reflecting the natural cause and effect. When this card comes up in your tarot reading, make sure you are acting fairly in your interaction with others. I already thought of one for this, Emma. Captain's also a pretty good one, but I think Emma would be getting more for Justice, because she is a cop. Has to do with moral sensitivity, and which gives empathy and compassion and a sense of fairness. D'Artagnan? D'Artagnan is justice-based, that is true. Sirius? I don't even know what Sirius' description is. I think it's Goddess of Light Sirius, wasn't it? Goddess of Light Sirius. Goddess of Light keeping the world in the correct path, cast judgment, okay. Who descended from the brightest stars, smaller even the slightest of evils with justice. Justice could be Lucifer or Anubis? Why would that be the case? Does Lucifer or Anubis have something to do with justice as well? Oh my god, it's so hot. My room is so fucking hot. Okay. So I'm thinking of Hell Warden Emma. Hunter of evil souls trying to escape eternal punishment, back to the pit with you. Judge, jury, executioner of the treacherous dead who casts aside all honors for victory in battle. I still feel like Emma is also a good choice. Who was it again? The other one? D'Artagnan. Wandering warrior pursuit of true justice. He values anything more than justice and will happily sacrifice it for his cause. I guess this is... I guess D'Artagnan is really based off justice, huh? Big D. Please don't call D'Artagnan Big D. I'd never want to hear anyone refers to D'Artagnan as Big D ever again. Please. My god. Can you imagine going to, like, Chauzy, and it's like, oh yeah, have you finally gotten your Big D today? Mr. Chauzy, I can't wait for you to finally roll on Fest and finally get the Big D that you've been yearning all these years, man. You know? Anubis is the god of punishment. Oh, okay. D'Artagnan is baldy. I think D'Artagnan is a good choice here. I call him Black D. No, that's even worse. Like the white D and the black D. Okay, yeah, I'll go with D'Artagnan. I think D'Artagnan is a pretty good choice. Justice. How does D'Artagnan look like again? It's like just a close-up of him. It's just like wait, where is his eye patch? Man, battle cats with like confusion over left and right. It's like his sprite. And his sprite, his eye patch is over there, but his icon, his eye patch is over there. Battle cats. God damn it, man. They don't bother switching up sprites for this, which I guess it makes sense, but like, come on. It is kind of funny though. Do both? No, it should be on the left still. It should be on the left. Well, or at least right on our side. So yeah. Cover both eyes. No. This should be fine. No, wait, it actually is on. Wait, no. Their eye patch is actually correct. I just realized. No. Their eye patch is correct. No, I'm at fault here. I was wrong. I didn't realize that. It was actually reversed on the icon. Okay, no. I'm stupid. It was actually correct. So it is right here. It's like, man, he's so fucking emo. Something like that. Such a emo ass boy. There we go. He needs the cat mouth. It looks so fucking stupid, D'Artagnan with the cat mouth. Super edgelord, my god. Oh, the cat is actually on a different side. There we go. Alright. Average emo kid. My god, we've already been going for an hour. We haven't drawn a single thing. Maybe I should start drawing something. I don't even know if I actually started drawing something at all. We've only been like halfway through still. we still got 11 more, I think. Next one. Whoops, there we go. Next one is Hangman. Hangman tells you that sometimes small sacrifices are required to benefit the bigger picture. When a hangman arises in your reading, you likely want to make a move, but don't know where to begin. Lightening your grip on what's no longer working for you, or detaching from what? Eraser? Why Eraser? The first thing that I think when I see this is Vigler. Why Eraser? They sacrificed themselves. Hangman usually indicates a lack of ability to help oneself through independent action. The energy is arrested in awaiting judgment. With this card, there is no avenue for the will to regain control of the situation. What? This represents a good time to pull off the pill, to study and meditate upon the position you find yourself in and form a resolution to the moment you become free again. Only those who possess wisdom, patience, and optimism will be able to see through... What? Including possible... What? To grasp the inspiring lesson one can gain from... What? The Hangman advises you to surrender illusions of control. What? Except that you have been overcome. What? And deceived by your own devices. What? Having made your bed, you now need to lie in it. This is not a negative judgment. It's just that sometimes there are consequences for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. What? What? Bad things can happen to good people. These consequences are not fatal even if they are inconvenient or perhaps even embarrassing. Stop resisting your circumstances and let some time go by. Eventually you'll be released a little wiser and not much worse for wear. You will come to realize in time how you collaborated with the problem. However, the issues you were stuck on when you were first hung up have subsided and no longer What? What? Accept the consequences of your decisions.
The time of considering other people's needs over your own. The process of the Hangman can feel uncomfortable, but it will lead you to a very needed release of negative past patterns.
What? You shot every time Lucas says what, and yeah, you're gonna die. I might be someone in bad situation doing the right thing. Tarzan! Wrong place at the wrong time makes me think about how Victor's description says he discovered something scarier than hell itself. Did he? Was that in his description? Detective Vigler. Prodigy in the Netherworld's Office of Infernal Investigation. Hardened veteran got too close to the fruit and uncovered a conspiracy scarier than hell itself. Realized the true power after bringing the corrupt archdemons to justice. The viewer when we lose the gamble? I don't know about that. Tyrant Catch would be best because he got uncanny strength. With each battle, his soul is consumed piece by piece. Treasures, no. Hangman is usually somebody who is past the point of no return? Hangman. Pause, surrender, letting go, new perspective. Hangman. Sacrifice, release, martyrdom. Hangman. Consequence, surrender, stagnation, a situation that must be waited out. Finding agreement was no longer working for you, or detaching from the outcome of your situation. What? The player. Who's the cat with ninja and enter the ninja? What? Oh, you mean, Hayabusa? Isn't that just Bomber Cat? Why Bomber Cat? And why Hayabusa? If I don't have a good choice for this, I think I'll just go with Vigler just because he's upside down. Suicidal? The hell does the suicidal have to do with anything with this? I don't think that's suicidal. As the curses within whisper to her, she wanders the land desperately seeking to finally find inner peace. As her soul absorbs the cursed power of her enemies, she has become the personification of disaster itself. No, maybe not. What about Castley herself, actually? Young wanderer whose soul in prison, 1,000 vengeful glows, struggle with her peril. Having at least encountered kindness and love, she now commands her race to the cause of light. That actually could work? It's like as if she already dealt with her problems, right? It's like she's finally let go of her problems. Terun? Why Terun? Does Terun have anything to do with that? Wait, what's your name again? Huntress Terun. Huntress Terun. Demitama has been betrayed by this cruel lord and has embraced darkness. Is that the case? If other than the Hun supernatural exam, I don't see why Terun would be the case in that regards. Dark Mitama. Betrayed by this cruel world and has embraced darkness like a widow mourning her lost love, she is trapped within her memories. Maybe that could work. What is Mitama? Normal Mitama's description. Chosen holy server, and bioclone. Program identity is unknown. Yeah, okay. She's at a point of no return. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good one, yeah. Yeah, Dark Mitama can definitely work. Either Castley or Dark Mitama, but I guess Dark Mitama would fit this description more. Okay, we can do like upside down Dark Mitama or something like that. So for Hangman. We do Dark Mitama but upside down. What's Dark Mitama look like again? It's just like, she is also in like a hoodie. This kind of looks like Mena without the colors. I'll just write it down here. It's the Dark Mitama. There we go. Hopefully this can be a good video because I can't see shit because of my bad internet. I don't know. I don't know if I'll make this a video or not. Next one. So that was Hangman. That was a pretty good one. Death. One of the most misunderstood tarot cards. Death is not a card about physical death. The death card speaks of cycle and is a reminder that all things must pass. Hanging on to situations from the past will hinder you from allowing new, better things to enter your life. In every ending lies a chance of new beginning. We see Death mounted on a horse and wearing black armor. The emphasis on these texts is the punishment of sin. Was used to explain the wrath of God. Luckily, in modern time, we are not so encumbered with such guilt-ridden philosophy. It may represent the death of something else, like a project or relationship. This card also points to a time of harvest symbolized in classic text to a reaping skeleton. Unless the fruits of summer are harvested, they are lost to winter's harshness, and people don't eat. And the slight cuts to liberation going forward. Advises you to detach from the old order. You may want to close accounts, complete unfinished tasks, and gather your harvest. It's time to move on. Cut the cords that have bound you to the old ways and outdated conventions. You could free yourself to join the sweep of incoming light. This is not an excuse to reject others or hurt them in any way. It is simply time to move towards your ultimate interest. I mean, Hades is the most obvious choice, because Hades is death. Assassin bear? He's on a horse, must have winning. I mean, you can also say that with Chariot, I think. Jizzo? He used to be meta but has fallen off. I don't think that's how they... I don't think that's how you read the death card. Something that has moved on. You know what I was thinking? Maybe this is finally the time for Awakened Bahamut. Of him, like, leaving away the previous form, and, you know, after moving on to become Awakened Bahamut, you leave away. You're like, once you use Awakened Bahamut, you're not using Crazed Bahamut ever again, unless you're doing like Crazed Tank, right? And that, and also just the fact that Bahamut is, you know, fucking deadly as hell. Crazed Bahamut would probably chokeslam Awakened Bahamut. The floor 29 tech, true. How about the zombie girl from Monster Girl? Oh, Verbana? What is Verbana's description? Brave Flower Verbana. How do I remember these Ubers like first name? Lost soul who came home from the other side hunting for a groom to fill her heart with astonished. Her hunger says that she now looks forward to the wedding day of her undead dreams. Using her late love's estate to live the afterlife of her dreams, now both her heart and stomach are full to bursting. That's actually... Hunting for a groom to fill her heart or her stomach. Her hunger says that now she look forward. No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Wicked Bahamut is still gonna fit better. She said, I'm dead. You know, that reminds me. Speaking of Verbana, earlier this month, I actually commissioned an artist to. I asked them if they can make an emote for me. They just had commission opens for like the start of the month, and I was like, I always like this artist's art style. It's so simple and it's so cute. And I was like, can you draw emotes? I was like, yeah. And when I was done, I was like, shit, I actually haven't thought about what emotes do I want. So I commissioned 2 emotes. One is a Ku emote that is basically a kind of like a happy, pog, excited emote for Ku. And the other one is actually Verbana. I asked for a Pray emote for Verbana. I was considering other units too. It's like, what other units could I use for like other emotes? But then I was like, I kind of want to make a Verbana emote. Like, Verbana's probably like my favorite monster girls. I just find her really cute, so I was like, having like a Verbana Prey emote would be nice. So I gave him a reference, and I'm like, can you make a Prey emote out of this one? It's like, yeah, sure. He's still working on other commissions, I think. My commission is on queue. But yeah, look forward to that. Verbana is a cutie. She really is. Verbana's really cute. Like, her smile is just really cute. Also, another thing about Verbana is that Verbana has eye bags. She's just like me, for real, for real. Like, Okay, see full size image. Like she has major eye bags. Look at that. Okay, it's a bit hard to see here, but she has major eye bags, just like me, for real, for real. What cards do we have now? Oh, right, I haven't drawn that. Hold on. Oh shit, there's a bug. Oh, there's a bug on my leg. Get away. I don't even know what bug that is. I just slapped it on the general direction. Let me draw it first. So for that, it's just gonna be Awakened Bahamut. How does Awakened Bahamut look like, Ken? Bahamut. Wow, clear Empire of Cats Chapter 3 to get Bahamut Cat. Oh, this is also new music. This is music from Rudimical, which is apparently a rhythm game based off an existing series called The Legend of Dark Witch, which apparently is kind of like a Mega Man game. But I never know about the game before, and I've only played Rudimical, which apparently is like a rhythm game spin-off, without even knowing about the main series. The rhythm game was fine. It was pretty good actually. I actually quite enjoyed it, and the music was pretty nice too. Hey, that's pretty good. I'll just leave it like that. That's Bahamut. There we go. That. Oh, my back hurts. Oh. Dimitama's design always looked weird to me. I preferred her evolved form. Evolved form or unevolved form? I've always preferred unevolved form of Dark Mitama. I think Dark Mitama's like first form is cuter. Like, I actually kind of like the coloring of Dark Mitama. But Gothic Mitama, I feel like it's a bit too much. No. I think I prefer Dark Mitama, honestly. I prefer second form? Really? I think I'll still choose Dark Mitama, though. I personally prefer Dark Mitama. The second form for the coffin meme. I haven't seen the coffin meme in a while. That coffin meme should be on the coffin meme, just because of how dead it is. Next one, Temperance. Let's see. Temperance card is a master of moderation. She encourages peace and patience and reminds you to go with the flow of your life instead of trying to force its pace or direction. When Temperance turns up in your tarot reading, it's a message to take things as they come and remain flexible enough to change with the changes. Reference to the soul. The woman or angel on Temperance card is mixing up a blend of subtle energies for the evolutions of personality. One key to interpreting this card that can be found in its title, a play on the process of tempering metals in a forge. Metals must undergo extremes of temperature, folding, and pounding, but the end product is infinitely superior to the impure one mined from the earth. In this image, the soul volunteers the ego for a cleansing and healing experience which may turn personality inside out, but which brings out the gold hidden within the heart. Tarot card advises you to identify and seek the missing ingredients in your life. Marshall had known skills and abilities to do what needs to be completed in your mission. Prepare to use spiritual practices, studies, or lifestyle changes that can assist you in your quest. A tremendous amount of benefit is available if you can organize yourself and be disciplined. Cyborg Chronos? Cyberpunk class of moderation. Cameraman? I was thinking of someone who meditates, which, you know, the one thing that I'm thinking about when it comes to meditation is Nobiluga. Also new music, by the way. This is music from the newly DLC for Ravi Ribi 8-bit remix. What about Balrog? Why Balrog? Sirius Kalissa? Ganesha! Ganesha's also a pretty good one, I think. What's Ganesha's name again? Exalted Ganesha? Oh, Splendid Ganesha. Bodhisattva, that's also a pretty good one, I think. Most of scholarship and splendid guardian and secret treasure that ward against misfortune gains fun. All follow him will grow prosperous and wise. God of prosperity, he uses fruit. Maybe not. Body. Wait, what? I forgot what his first name. Oh, it is Bodhisattva. I think I just mistyped. Okay. Cat has reached a state of peace and pushed its body beyond physical limits, who has shown compassion to many and all battle cats. Enlightened compassion flows from his cat, but they say even Buddha has a breaking point. That's a pretty good one for temperance, I think. I thought Ganesha was a girl for like a year. I think like the first time Ganesha came out, I also thought it was like, oh, is that a girl? And then only through like, only like the first 5 minutes though. It was like, and I looked at Ganesha again, it's like, wait, no, that's a guy. How about Gaia? We already had Gaia, actually. Gaia was... What was Gaia again? Hold on. Gaia was Empress. Yeah, Gaia was Empress. So we already had that. That's me, but with Lucifer? Lucifer? I guess Lucifer have long hair, but I think Lucifer... For me, it feels pretty clear that he's a guy. Balance, moderation, patience, purpose. Yeah, you sure need patience for Bodhisattva, because his fucking cooldown is 40 seconds. You sure needs patience. Middle path, patience, finding meaning. Yeah, fuck it. I'll put Bodhisattva. Whatever. Who's lacking, me or him? I think my OBS is fine. Nobody else is having problems, it seems, I think. Patience, Nobiluga. That is also another one that I'm thinking of. It's either Nobiluga or like Bodhisattva. Nobiluga. Monster Magician or just a cat? It doesn't really explain much though in here. I think Bodhisattva is fine too. I came back and I got Dastly jump scared. Ooh, Dastly. Boo. Like, imagine if you're just like, like a Battle Cat's boober who is like really sick of Dastly. Well, okay, that's just me, and you're just like dangling, you're just dangling Dastly's image in front of me. It's like Dastly jump scare, boo. What about Green Shell? Product is infinitely superior to impure. Advises you identify and seek the missing ingredients in your life. Spiritual practices, studies, or lifestyle changes that can assist you in your quest. A tremendous amount of benefit is available if you can organize and be disciplined in this time. How about Cool? Patience is waiting for Ku to land a hit. I don't think it... I don't think Ku is the type to be like that, though. Like, character-wise, at least, I think Ku does not make sense to be in Temperance. Like, I don't like if we put like too much thoughts in terms of stats. Rather, I think in terms of like the cat lore kind of deal is better. Fuck it. I'll just put Bodhisattva. I think I'll just put Bodhisattva for now. Okay. How do you spell this again? Temperance. Okay. Temperance. And I'll just put Bodhisattva. It looks basically like that, right? There we go. Gambling? What do you mean gambling? There's nothing to gamble here. Fucked up hands? I think your hands is pretty fine. Forget the battle cats, we now have the tarot cards. Yeah, exactly. The tarot cats. Balrog? Balrog's definitely not gonna fit for Temperance. I don't see why that would be the case. Devil, next one. Devil card carries them carry themes of restraint and powerlessness. When it comes up in your tarot reading, you are likely feeling stuck. The devil has convinced you that you have no options, but this couldn't be further from the truth. You hold the keys to your own freedom, but it's up to you to open the lock? Wait, what does this guy say? Endings change... Oh wait, no, that's dead. Shadow self-attachment, addiction, restriction, sexuality? What? Devil. Addiction, materialism, playfulness. What? The devil. The shadow self, material and worldly pleasure, unhealthy relationship, and entrapment. A stand-in for our inner demons. The things we give away our power away to, the voices that keeps us small and ashamed, essentially our shadowy parts. This card often shows up in unhealthy patterns in our lives. When the devil comes around, you're given the opportunity to dance with this energy and liberate yourself from... What? Gigando, Lucifer, Nyandam, Lilin, Hanya, Courier, Bondage, Glass? Craze Cats, Nyandam, Craze Cat, Hanya, Musashi? 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 Warlock and Pierre? The shadow is actually the core of our being, which we cannot get rid of and will never be succeeded in taming. From its earliest version, which portrayed a vampire demon, the devil evoked children lose their soul, devil image emerge, scapegoat goodness. Devil card advises you to show some spunk. There may be nothing gained from trying to be subtle or strategic. Consider your gender, express yourself honestly and let the chips fall where they may. Your best bet could be to express your true emotions, possibly including anger. Acknowledge that you have whatever feelings you have. Well, it may be necessary to act out what you feel in every situation. Accepting the power and depth of your inner experience enables you to remain true to yourself. What? Still have no fucking clue what this means. Radical cat? Lucifer is using forbidden powers to be stronger? I don't think that makes sense with the devil? Hayabusa? Radical cat? Why radical cat? Restriction section. Addiction, materialism, playfulness. What? Oh, fuck. Oh, we're kind of sleepy. Shit. We haven't even drawn a single card. I might just draw like one card and then leave. Walpurgisnacht? I would try to not do collapse, I think. That shit's hopelessness incarnate? You know, I should have done this like before this stream, I feel like. Materialism, playfulness. You hold the keys to your own freedom, but it's up to you to open the lock. Sophisticated rendition of the scapegoated goddess. Baphomet, volcanic reserves of passion and primal desire. True freedom of soul. What if I just write devil here? What comes up? Devil's nest? Oh, wicked cat. Wicked cat? Huh. What is Wicked Cat's description? Well, this is an enemy Wicked Cat. I don't think... Yeah, this enemy... Okay. Oh, brainwash cat. Cost-efficient basic cat within programmed through mind control. Super feline? Super feline. Read radical description. This is literally the card. What is radical's description? Ah, oops, that's the enemy. Killer cat. After a long spell of rebellion, he has quelled his killer instinct. Don't let his looks fool you, he's a kind cat. What? What? No, I don't see it. Gigando Jr.? Many humans were put into despair just for the cats to attain a life super feline. Killer cat confronted his inner demons to become radical cat. expresses the realm of taboo, the culturally rejected wildness and undigested shadow side that each of us carry in our subconscious. This shadow is actually the core of our being, which we cannot get rid of. From its earliest version, the Devil card advises that you show some spunk. There may be nothing gained from trying to be subtle or strategic. Assert your origin and express yourself honestly and let the chips fall where they may. Your best bet could be to express yourself through emotion, possibly even including anger. This one is really hard. Yeah, I think this one's pretty hard. Super Devil. Wait, which one is Cat Devil? Oh, it's this guy. Yeah, we got Devil. It's just a Bikuriman cat. Devil Strike, Mural of the Devil. I'll speak of the Devil. Zombie Cat. I guess Zombie Cat does have Devil Cat if you just want to be literal with it. Although it's just makeup. Whoever designed Hazuku, they really are. Maybe just go for the obvious Devil Cat. I still think Nyandam. Which is a literal Satan, that is true. Satan Kamon is a literal Satan, yes, but... Well, it may not be necessary to act on what you feel in every situation. Accepting the power and depth of your inner experience enables you to remain true to yourself. Last Foss? Last Foss? Incarnation of Evil. Final form revealed will arise on the eve of world destruction. Ah, oops. That would be pretty good. Last Foss, huh? Little Ruin Jugando, Evil God of Destruction, revived by the Dark Priest. I think I would be fine with Last Foss. Last Foss I think is a good choice. I want to see LucasIV drawing Last Foss. I'm probably going to like just crop his head, honestly. Like I'm not gonna draw his entire thing apart. It's just gonna be his head. It's probably, yeah, it's just gonna be like okay, so here, the Devil, and it's just gonna look like there we go, and then there's an eye over here, I think. Yeah, there's an eye over here. And then it's like damn, you have so much horns, god damn. And then like there's kind of like a beard looking thing over there, kind of like a crown as well, and just a big ass sprite for the rest. Not gonna see the rest, Yeah, there we go. That's the devil. He is very horny, exactly. Alright, let's just leave it as that for now. Let's leave the devil as last boss. Moving on. After the devil is the tower. Sudden change, upheaval, chaos, revelation, awakening. The tower represents destruction. It often comes up when everything in your life feels like it's crumbling and you have no way of stopping it. The message of this card is to just let it fall. The weakest part of your life must be torn down in order to build something strong and sturdy in its place. This feels similar to death. Disaster is striking or just has struck. Demons of madness and despair are released. Nature conspires. Upheaval, collective, and personal images were created for educated nobles. Most have to lose if the hierarchy is toppled. Lightning is karmic payback. Modern subtitle might be revolution. Social change, oppressed people find renewed hope. Comes like a flash of lightning, topple hierarchy of the old order. Everyone can have fresh start of more equal footing. Think of yourself as an agent of transformation. Self-sacrificing role is likely to create stressful situation. Your vision shows you that radical change has already been unleashed by forces larger, and therefore you are no longer resisting. Now you may be at the forefront, acknowledging and accepting the bracing presence of the future. Try to meditate the harsher part of the changes as they unfold. Most vulnerable are the most cushioned. Acknowledge yourself as well as the others in your life for offering resources to usher the better future. Cat face. That is the easiest choice, but Gravolonon? We need you to set up gambling? What the fuck do you want me to gamble? I'm in the middle of drawing. This is also applicable to Courier as the destruction of Behemoth. Can you imagine? Gigano destroys tower and his son rebuild it? I don't know about that. Bombercat destruction of Black Meta stressed incarnate literal tower of bombs? Agent of transformation. The self-sacrificing lure is likely to create stressful situations. Tower. Sudden upheaval, broken pride, disaster. One of the more ominous card, Major Arcana, typically heralds major change, disruption, and even danger. Symbolizes disruption, chaos, and the collapse of faulty structure. Something coming to a dramatic end. Element of surprise to the tower. It's change you weren't expecting, usually because your idea of what's going on is either a fantasy or you don't have the information you need. When you pull this card, just remember it represents a necessary ending. Mega Castle. The Pizza Tower. I could just draw like the Heavenly Tower, but we don't really need a literal tower. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Doron? Why Doron? Necolugas? Oreo? Major change, disruption, or even danger. Disruption, chaos, and the collapse of faulty structure. Something comes to a dramatic end. Just let it fall. Must be torn down in order to build something strong and sturdy. Me writing a 4-page essay and why you should choose Bombercat. I don't know about that. D'Artagnan? Why D'Artagnan? Filibuster enemy? Ooh, Filibuster Enemy actually makes sense. Because it's... but Filibuster Enemy also makes sense for, like, death, I feel like. Thinking of, like, Meta Filibuster, where the point of his attack is destruction and creation of life. LucasIV, stop talking about gambling. Seriously, you're just kind of disrupting the chat. He causes chaos, but you need to make him crumble a bit first. I don't think so. I think Filibuster actually makes sense. Especially Meta Filibuster, specifically Meta Filibuster, because it's very, unless you're doing a very specific strat where you don't let him attack, usually a lot of strategies allows him to do an attack first, and you just have to accept it. You just have to accept that Filibuster's attack is coming, you know? Meta Filibuster's attack is going to come whether you like it or not, unless you're rushing him down. Meta Fili is a good choice in most turns. He gets a hit off, which fitting and let it fall. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And also just the fact that, in general, the idea of his attack is that it's kind of like a Big Bang and like a new creation of a new world, alright? Which is kind of how Legend Zero came to be. Yeah, I'll go with Filibuster. I'll go with Meta Filibuster to be specific, I guess. Wait, hold on. Meta Filibuster. There we go. Meta Filibuster. There it is. The blue boy himself. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Tower. Tower is Filibuster, so it's like... that's a bit too round, I feel like. Hold on. There we go. That, and like that, and... there we go. Stupid ass cat face. Do 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 do. There we go. That's Tower. Golden Frieza? No, it's Blue Frieza. You need to keep that shit from attacking, yeah. When I see Filibuster, I still think of DBZ. It's just a cool design. Yeah, Filibuster honestly just looks really cool. Speaking of Filibuster, just a little hint, nudge, Speed of Filibuster is on the works. I'll just say that much. Speed of Filibuster 2 is on the works. But no visual, but yeah, it's just on the works. I'll just say that much. I don't know when it'll come out, and because I am still working on other things and stuff, and I am still kind of like brainstorming the ideas for Speed of Filibuster 2. But it's on the works. I'll just say that much. Is it Meta Filibuster? I haven't done the visuals. It's mainly just the audio for now. But yeah, it's on the works. Don't expect it to come anytime soon, though. It might not come for a while. Also, especially just the fact that I have plans with family next week, so it's probably not coming out anytime soon. Honestly, okay, I'm just gonna say this. I think my initial plan was to make it, I kind of like shadow drop it on April Fools, but looking at the calendar, I don't think it's happening. April Fools is only like 2 weeks away. I definitely cannot do Speed of Filibuster 2 in 2 weeks unless I rush the hell out of it. It's probably not gonna happen on April Fools, unfortunately. It's probably gonna have to be on another time. Anyways, next up, the Star. AKA Star Platinum. The Star is the embodiment of hope and healing. She's a calming influence that brings messages of renewal, optimism, and inspiration. When the star comes up in your tarot reading, she reminds you that the universe is working in your favor and encourages you to have faith in where you are being taken. Oh shit, naked lady. I should stop doing that. Reconnecting one's soul with divine. Star could be Amaterasu's literal sun goddess. That is kind of funny. Personality, family, community, and reputation, ultimately with the freedom to be oneself. Soul is responding to celestial influences. Forces. Oops. Oh no, naked lady. Star Platinum Aura. Of course, that's.
About a renewed sense of hope in life. The star comes right after the Tower in the major arcana cards, and so looking at that relationship is very informative. After a difficult time of change, the feelings brought on by the star are relief, really. When you receive this card in a reading, it's a very good omen for what's happening in your life.
Good omen for what's happening in your life. The star. Oh shit, naked lady. Look, man, I have to be careful. Yeah, we already used Gaia, so. Cat got the awesome. He thinks highly of himself in the beginning of the BC lore, but as time goes on, he starts recognizing his mistakes. Since when does he start recognizing his mistake? I'm pretty sure he's as cocky as ever. I don't think that has changed. I don't remember any description of Catgut where he recognizes his mistakes. Twin stars? Healer cat? No, I don't think so. Prime opportunity for JoJo reference. Yes, but also it doesn't really fit the description. In the end, isn't Piss Cagey the star? I don't know about that. Nurse cat. Rededicate yourself to a higher value. Increase your spiritual cultivation and medication practice. Surrender to the greater good. Connect to your higher self and being a larger realm. Traveling on an evolutionary. What? Period of quiet contemplation. Listen to your voice within. Anything that would interfere in your community may not be serving your best interest right now. Hope, faith, purpose, renewal, spirituality. Hope. Who cat? Eulala? Eraser? If I just type star, what would happen? Star Ocean, Star Peng. Starving in summer. Cats in the Cosmos, Cat Kaza Jizo? Embodiment of hope and healing. Optimism and inspiration. Star. Phono. What is Phono's description? I actually have no idea. Wait, how do you spell Phono? Am I mistyping it? No, it is correct. It's just not showing. Okay. Destiny's plaything that bears a destructive fate. Have no idea what power at rest. A mystical cat that burns with the fires of fate, sworn to protect humanity until their dying breath. Artist cat? What? Chronos? With the fruit of creation holds back the chaos that threatens to consume the universe. Hope and healing. Spirituality, purpose, connecting to the divine, transcendence, and inspiration. Both practical and intuitive, her nudity represents both her purity and vulnerability. Single star shown also symbolizes her core essences, while the small stars represent the 7 main chakras. It's a beautiful card with deep and powerful message, especially with those going to rebirth of some kind. Shed the skin all the layers have built up over the years and naked under the beauty of starry night sky. Vulnerable, authentic, and raw. Star is Moneko. Moneko's already the fool. The stream of less drawing and more like guide Lucas to do tarot's card in the future. Look, man, I'll do like 1 tarot card and then I'll end stream. What is this description? Is the alluring dancer? Something like that? What? No. Is dancer who wants to make people smile with her art. Doesn't realize the power within herself. Grateful dancer who enters with elegant moves. Conjures magical powers. Moneko is a fool, she is. Ramen cat? Rocker artist ramen because of peanuts. Look, man, I don't know about that. You could make Moneko the star and make fool basic cat? Basic cat? No, I think Moneko as a fool is fine. Isn't that creativity in itself? I don't think that's the point of the star though. Like, it's one part of the star, but I don't think creativity is like the main thing about the star. It's kind of like the hope. What I'm thinking right now is kind of like with the Bible, when the tree, I don't know what it's called in English, the tree wise men? The tree wise men follows the star. It's kind of like the symbol of hope and like the symbol of where you want to follow kind of deal. It's like the creativity part isn't really like the main point. Kronos is a divine entity and she's really weak and get killed easily? What? I don't know about that. Kind of like hope giver character. Valkyrie? What does Valkyrie do? What if I just type in hope? What would that give? No hope, Wretch. I hope it's an Uber. Oh my god, I forgot about this stage name. This is the DS thing, wasn't it? Oh no, it's another New Year? Wait, what? I forgot what the stage is. Unfinished chores, unknown relative, rare gacha. Wait, where's the I hope it's an Uber one? Oh, it's here. Rare gacha with a red envelope. I hope it's an Uber. Okay. No. That's a good stage, it is. Ew, Nakita Komaeda, shut up. Moon. Dark Souls, because of the Cosmos. Wait, wasn't like 1-1... Beautiful Star Pero. Universe's #1 playable before just refuse to be seeing stars. I mean, it has some star team, but I don't know about that. It's gonna be weird, but Kai has some star team too, I think, right? Or maybe not. Am I misremembering things? Well, okay, her bra is like star symbol, but it is something to do with innocence, wasn't there? Or maybe not. Hope, fate, purpose, renewal, spirituality. Maybe not. Valkyrie? Why Valkyrie though? I still don't understand. Cosmic Cyclone? It's time for the field of a halt to prevent salvation for the battle cache. Curses broken, the zero mana restored Mjolnir pierces foes. That's not bad, actually. To provide salvation for the battle cats. When I hear of Kai, I just start hearing your video of the galaxy gulls in my head. Which one? Which one are you thinking about? Luminala. Lumina is a star, I guess. Do we have anything that have Lumina in the name? No, I guess not. Lumina. Ultimate elemental manifestation, projected from a dying star at the end of the universe, omniscient, cosmic visionary from the future, mastery of elements allow it to ignore barriers. About Wheelcat's second form? I think it's a bit too literal. I mean, I guess Lumina is also kind of too literal, but I kind of like Valkyrie. I think I'll go with Valkyrie. Been watching you on your YouTube for quite a while, but first time watching your stream, what's going on? I'm drawing tarot cards of Battle Cat, sorta. Tarot card version of Battle Cats. She's in the star by the supernova. I guess? I don't fucking know, but I think Valkyrie is good. Let's try to go with Valkyrie. So in here for star. Wait, how do you draw the star again? Okay. The pose for the star card, I think, is pretty specific. The pose for the star card is like kind of like this. Like that. Like that. And way too specific. I'm not really sure if it's worth drawing Valkyrie in this pose. Something like that. You drew Valkyrie before, right? I don't think so. I don't think we've made Valkyrie. Right, Valkyrie here. Valkyrie was definitely considered before, but I don't think we actually settled to Valkyrie on anyone. Yeah, we haven't drawn Valkyrie on anyone. The bug is coked up, I like it. Man, normally in the start cards, apparently the girl is like naked. I'm not gonna draw Valkyrie naked, that much is for sure. Why does it look like a man with a grenade in his hand that he wants to roll somewhere? Okay, yeah, I can kind of see it. It's just like, grenade! It's just pull the string. It actually looks like Palutena. Yeah, I guess there is no detail to show. It looks like Solid Snake. No, it needs more W if it's Solid Snake. Was there one image from March? Oh my god, you're actually right. It does look like the March dancing meme. Fucking, hold on. There we go. Grumpy sweetie pie. You want a crump, sweetie? I never actually watched The Simpsons, but I do know about it. How about some crumbs, sweetie? Marge Simpson and the Battle real? Okay, moving on. So now we got Valkyrie for a star. Next one is the Moon. Illusion, fear, anxiety, subconscious intuition. Hold on. The Moon card represents hidden thoughts, feelings, doubts, and fears. When the Moon arises in your tarot reading, you may be allowing your fears to override your fate in the future. Don't be deceived, you can't believe everything that you see, hear, or think. If you can draw your feelings to the surface and then address them, you can rid yourself of worry. Unconscious illusions, intuition. Illusion, impressionability, deception, confusion, strife. When the subconscious is reflected back to us and we get the chance to work with it. There's an element of diving deep. She asks that when you pull this card, it's an invitation to release the control you've held over your internal emotion order. Connecting deeply and accepting all that you are. When the moon appears. Deep state of sensitivity and imaginative impressionability. Develop within a room of deep relaxation. Here we dream, go into trance. You cannot always control what happens. What? Advises you to trust your instinct and intuition. What? It has no game plan. Try to be a witness. Do nothing? Let nature carry you forward. This may be... What? What? I guess Kaguya is the obvious choice, but also... do you know why I couldn't find Nuclear Sexy anywhere but YouTube? Like, I really wanted to listen to it, but I couldn't find it. Because it's some music from basically a dead game, sorta. Dahlia-san is a literal fish. Yeah, but what does that have anything to do with the moon? Okay, I need to listen to your explanation again, lady.
The moon can be thought of sometimes as a card of disillusionment and fear, even can indicate a period of depression at times. You can imagine that scene at night. The moon is out, it's casting strange shadows over the land, creating illusions perhaps. But there's another way of looking at that too. The moon is an invitation to us to deepen our intuition. It offers us different ways of seeing the world.
I learned nothing from that. What? What? SR Nurse? Seafarer? When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's a chaos. That's a chaos moon, eh? Pizza cat? Necro dancer? Is there a cat who uses illusions? Is there anything that has to do with illusions? What if I just type illusion? Blue illusion? No, not growing blue. Alchemizer? Why does that show up? What if I just type like shadow? Wow. Shadow boxer. Two great shadows. Akira. Bahamut vacation vulcanizer. Shadow go. Alternate dimension god from the darkest timeline, seek powers at any cost. Appears only to those who know true despair. I could have Shadow Akira, but it doesn't really make that much sense. Dark is Baron Seal. Illusionary Guardian Vega. I would try to avoid collab units. Hime Yuri? Hime Yuri. Trickster Hime Yuri. Elusive vixen from Mystic Realm, hiding her true face. Wondrous mortal realm hunting for a weak-willed. Glorious true nature has revealed, her mood is improved. Lost Harvest Goddess has finally cast aside her mark and blessed the earth with her true face. I don't know about that. Did you use Onmyoji already? No, I haven't. But why Onmyoji? Onmyoji, go! I hold on. There's something that there's an old music video that I'm thinking well when you said Onmyoji. And now I can't let go until I remember what it's called. I think it's Let's Go Onmyoji. Let's Go Onmyoji. Okay, we have to listen to this now. Onmyoji. Let's go! Yeah! 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 Play this on loop for the rest of the stream. Why is there a pentagram in the background? I mean, Onmyoji can't also have a pentagram. I'm pretty sure it's just an Onmyoji thing. Okuryo Tyson. Oh, Myoji, let's go! Yeah! 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 Hold on. Is there a modern version? Oh yeah, there is, I think. Hold on. Oh, Coco and Noel sang... Wait, what? Why would they sing this? Did they perform this? Oh my god, they did. Onmyoji to Yomu! Tai-san, Akuyo, I did not remember them performing this. What the fuck? Seiman, Doman, Seiman! Onmyoji, let's go! When the fuck did they do this? Is this Coco's graduation? Oh no, it's Noel's Noel's. Wait, what? Noel always have the weirdest song choice. All right, thank you for the music trip, Noel. Send it here so I can listen it again. Just search up "Let's Go Onmyoji." You can definitely find it. Here, I'll copy this. So they keep that song but not Airman from Gorane? Wait, what do you mean? Finally the music. What do you mean? It's good stuff. Okay. That's okay. Why did you want me to look up Onmyoji again? Exorcist who time travel from the past. Magical girl by alien contract. Contract has been fulfilled, ultimate power is within her grasp. I don't know about that. Reynard? Why Reynard? Error currently seeing airman got blocked on my side, so I can't see it again. Oh, really? That sucks. Shadow. What if I like Luna? Anything? I guess. No, I already typed Luna. Okay, well, the obvious answer would still be Kaguya, I guess. Moon into the future. Moon Empire of Cats. Moon Aku Realm. Moon Operators. In the Moon. Kaguya, Kaworu. Bahamut Cat? Oh, it's because of EOC Moon, I'd imagine. Why does Vulcanizer keep on showing up? Vulcanizer and Baron Seal shows up in literally every search. Like, literally anything that I search, it always have Vulcanizer and Baron Seal for some goddamn reason. The Fox Vagina? Imagawa Yoshimoto, you mean? Imagawa. Impeccable virtue allows him to wield Cursed Cat Fan. All-knowing Fox Spirit. Stained crimson with the blood of his rivals. Not really sure if it has anything to do with the moon, though. Kenshin? Kenshin. Uesugi Kenshin. Dragon Versailles fully fused with Nyanko engine consumed by corruption. If worst comes to worst, I'll just put Kaguya. Why is there a lobster there? Illusion, fear, anxiety, subconscious intuition. You know, I could put, since there's like, there's have like 2 dogs here. I could put like, Gao and Shadow Gao. Are you looking for a Wheel of something? No, I already got Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune is 11 roll. Ninja Cat? Anxiety? Ninja Cat? No. Ninja Uber? Goemon? Mate Cat from BCPC. I don't even know what she's about. I think I like the idea of having both Gao and Shadow Gao. And then something for the moon. Okay, like I think I'll have both Gao and Shadow Gao on like each side. On like left side and right side I'll have Shadow Gao. But for the moon itself, should I just put Kaguya as normal? Kinda like the 2 faces of the moon. The 2 faces of the moon? Sakura like disappears from her attack as well. Flower Cat, because technically he's the only secret unit. I don't know about that. Moon should be Shadow Gao and the sun should be Mighty Gao. Sun is powerfully uplifting card representing happiness, joy, vitality, and optimism. When the sun comes up in your tarot reading, it's a positive sign that things are working well for you and that you are moving in the right direction. Lift your head up and realize the good situation and people that are surrounding you now and always. I guess we probably should make the moon and sun like related. Although I already put Valkyrie on the star. I could still change the star, but I guess no, but like the star no, I think moon and sun is definitely the one that have to be related. Okay, so I think we're gonna have to think of both sun and moon. It's about the self, who you are, how you cultivate personality and character. Limitation of time and space are stripped away, soul is refreshed. Signifying human incarnation of the divine. When the 2 humans are shown, the image is portraying a resolution of the tension between opposites all levels. Is this card saying you can do no wrong, it's all to the good? Have confidence in your natural divinity. I need your advice again, lady.
The sun represents freedom and growth. When you receive this card, it can indicate experiencing a time of prosperity in your life. Sometimes that can come after a time of struggle, a darker time. If we think about the order of the major arcana cards, the sun comes after the moon. So after that period of darkness and confusion, the sun comes back. It brings the light of day and restores that sense of clarity to life.
What? Is there an eclipse card? No, there's only like 2 cards left or so. There's only Star, Moon, so Moon, Sun, Judgment, and the World is all that's left. Sun is Gao. Darker time, not saving up 6,000. Should I go for Moon and might go for the Sun? Yeah, I think it does makes a lot of sense to have that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I think that would make a lot of sense to just have Shadow Gao and Gao for Sun and Moon. I don't know how to position them though, but for now I'll just write them off as Sun and Moon. Like Moon, I don't know how to display it, but for now let's just type as Gao. And for Sun, it's gonna be Gao. There we go. Okay, so we only have like 4 left. Wait, no, 2 left actually. It's only Judgment and Zawaru though. Manic Legs and Wicked Grows. No, I think Gao and Shadow Gao is better. Dazzly for Moon and Castly for Sun. No, I think Shadow Gao is better, because like, especially with the theming of Shadow, which is kind of like the deal with the Moon as well. Doesn't Shadow Gao attack already kind of look like the Moon? That's true, yeah. Have their backs turned to each other sitting. Ooh, that's pretty cute. Bird's eye view of Gao running counterclockwise head on 6. That's too confusing. Sun Bora Moon Luminawa. That could work, but I think this is already better. I think Gao and Shadow Gao is already better. Alright, so it's just Judgment and the World. I don't think these two need to be connected at least. Judgment, Upright, Judgment, Rebirth, Inner Calling, Absolution. Judgment is a bit similar to Justice, I feel like. What's the difference between Judgment and Justice? Judgment is a card where your past and future come together. You are being called on to review your decisions and actions until now to ensure that they are in line whether you ultimately want to go. The Judgment card reminds you that your future is not set in stone and that it's never too late to make change for the better. Resurrection presents great reunion, includes every personality. Symbolically celebrating returning to the center of every year on our birthday. Advises you to allow yourself to grow, transform, and release. Divert yourself, fruitless endeavors. Not necessary to reject others, but refuse to be manipulated by those who cry foul. What? I need your help again, lady.
Judgment is a card of profound epiphany. This is a very pivotal point in the tarot experience. It's a card about really coming into your own, understanding the self, really finding your place in the world, realizing what it is that you're really meant to do. And this can also be a card that represents redemption. And a lot of times that comes in the form of forgiving yourself, so that all of those negative feelings you might be holding on to can pass on. They'll no longer stand in your way. They won't be holding you back from your true work in the world.
I have no idea what that means. Cat god. Huh. Hellwarden Emma, that is what I'm thinking too. But will we start reading our futures now? That would be kind of fun to do. Like, can you imagine if I finish the tarot cards and then I start to do like actual tarot card readings? That would be kind of a cool stream, honestly. Does the tarot card have to be a cat unit or can it be an enemy? Originally, I kind of wanted to be both, but we're far too deep into making everything cats, I feel like. I think making like one or two being enemies are now kind of weird. Like, originally I was thinking of both cats and enemies, but everything has been cats so far and there's only 2 left. I think it would be weird if there's suddenly an enemy. I think we should probably stick with cats now. Called because he redeemed himself? I don't think it's... is it about... I don't know about that. There's an enemy that's named Judgment? Ashley, Mammon... Didn't you do Mammon as a card? No, I didn't. I switched it out for someone else, I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, I did! Oh wait, yeah, I did do Mammon for Priestess. I forgot about that. Huh. I might have to go back and change Mammon then. We also have Meta Filibuster. Yeah, but Meta Filibuster is technically still a quote-unquote cat, though. It's like... It's still kind of... It's an enemy, but it's also it's like a cat. It's like saying, like... Brainwash... Well, not brainwash. It's like saying Wicked Cat isn't a cat, which is like... Technically, it's still a cat, you know? Hi, Ascona? How are you? Bahamut, because he's between... We already had Bahamut. Bahamut is dead. Emperor Cat, because he's both foe and friend. For Judgment? I think we'll have to go back and check what we can do for Priestess again. Drunk? I'm not really sure this is the best place to spend your time being drunk, but hey, if you have fun with it, that's fine. As long as you have fun. If you're changing Priestess, HBA as Sanzo or Exorcist Cat. We'll think about it later. But for now, Judgment. What if I just put like Judge here? Princess Punt Sweets. No, I'm not doing collabs. Day of Judgment Enforcer. Hades. Cat Shops? Lionel, Emma, Bebe, Dubai, Hayabusa, Sakurasonic, Riba, Ciceru. That's all. Hades, the Punisher, Hades, the Death Header, Supreme Overlord, and the Judge of the Dead, condemns evil soul in its infernal side, rules the underworld who reaps the spirits and sinners, brings them to the ultimate fate. Ruler of the Netherrealm uses fluid operation to draw the sinful dead in his kingdom. Emma, Hunter of Evil Souls, Judge, Jury, Executioner. What's it all? Princess, she was corrupted prior to being saved, I think. I don't know about that. Like, the card, the image of the card itself is like kind of the judge, right? I feel like this could be a good time for Emma. Just a question mark. Although, oh my god, why is the... Am I the only one who's not hearing the notification? I am not hearing the raid notification at all. I mean, I see it, but I don't hear the audio. But RL Blend, thank you for the raid. What have you been doing? Can I still do... Hold on, does this still work? Just to make sure. Oh, it does work. Nice. Oh, you're doing chess. Goddamn. Kind of want to do a chess stream now. I did hear it. Oh, that's weird. Maybe I'm just stupid. Latest description is Supreme Overlord and Judge of the Dead. Yeah, I think Hades and Emma both work. Here's Bahamut would fit this. Bahamut won't miss. You'll die or take a lot of damage. He miss and you can get away scot-free. What? The chess cat. Next up, we're gonna assign cats to every chess pieces. I think Judgment is between Hades and Emma. I think both of these are good. But I'm leaning towards Emma because Emma's easier to draw. I don't wanna fucking draw this shit, bro. What the fuck is this? I ain't drawing this shit. Emma is just an anime girl? Oh hell yeah. That's way easier to draw. I think Hades works better. Probably. And cause of waifu, that is true. I think I'll do Emma. What does the Judgment card look like again? She toots a trumpet. And people are getting out of boxes. What? Okay. So, or here. Judgment. There's like a... so she's holding like a trumpet? Wait, hold on. Yeah, it's kind of like that. What does Emma look like? Hold on. Okay, I need a close-up of Emma a little bit. Oops. What does her hat look like? It's a pretty big hat. And oops. Yeah, okay, something like that. And then there's like cats that like praises that comes out of the box. It's like, oh, wow. Wow. Something like that. This is gonna be our Judgment card. I looked at my points, I have 6699. Nice. She has a trumpet. I thought she spits fire from her thing. No. This is from the Judgment card itself, not from Emma. Because like the Judgment card looks like this. The Judgment card looks like that. There's a trumpet. So that's what I'm referencing instead of actually Emma herself. And finally, move on to the last one. The world. Fulfillment, harmony, completion. Zawaruno. As the last card of the major arcana, the world, Zawaruno, represents completion and fulfillment. When it arises in your tarot reading, you are exactly where you are meant to be. You have a greater understanding of who you are after all you've been through, and you're ready for the next phase of your journey. You're ready for the next phase of your journey. Courier. Super feline. Oh, that's not a bad choice, I feel like. Super feline or ED. Upholds life. Become our standard world image. Stands between heaven and earth. Goddess of world, cosmic citizenship. Once we come to realize our soul's potential. This card, like the sun, is reputed to have no negative meaning no matter where or how it appears. Know thyself. Giving you permission to do whatever you want. Even if you commit an error, it'll be turned to the greater good. Rather than look for consensus, simply dance the dance. What matters is divine intervention. Whether or not human beings approve is less important. If you allow your ego to inflate, however, you cease to be useful to the greater plan. What? Oh my god, naked lady. Stop giving me naked lady in my tarot cards. What the fuck?
Gives us many opportunities to consider balance in our lives, and the World card is quite possibly the ultimate expression of that need. It is about equal attention being placed on
TOS? No, I think it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Our emotional life, physical existence, spiritual life, the mental realm, the realm of thought. And in this card, it's not just about achieving that balance, but the ability to maintain it consistently throughout life once it has been achieved.
What?
About equal attention being placed on all the realms of existence. Our emotional life, physical existence, spiritual life, the mental realm, the realm of thought, on all the realms of existence.
Equal attention?
Equal attention being placed.
Equal? What? It's for educational purposes. It should be fine, I think. Super feline stands between heaven and earth because he's a cat-made organisms. Huh. Huh. The cosmic mother of souls, the wife of God, and our protector from the karmic forces. What? What? Chronos? Technically that's not bad, but I also like Super Feline. I think Super Feline is also a pretty good one. Transcended mortality to turn the tide of destiny. Changes the battle of its own free will. Genetic embodiment of humanity catified. Says you use the apple to defend the universe from darkness and terror. That's kind of generic though, I feel. I think I like the idea of Super Feline. Or at least true Super Feline specifically as the world. It's just been there. He's definitely like a very special cat as well. He's the baby feline? You mean the true form? Yeah, definitely. Cats defied by gods, making Super Feline third. Yeah, I think Super Feline being the world makes a lot of sense. World. And it's so the world. Let's see. Okay. The world. And it's just Super Feline. Wait, what does Super Feline look like again? It's a little bit like. Okay, it's kind of similar to a basic cat, but the face is a little bit different. Kinda like that. There we go. The world. Whoa. There we go. Can you draw the Hangman first? Hangman? Dark Mitama? Why? Isn't The sniper? Wait, isn't he super easy to draw that looks like a Pokemon like Licky Licky? What? You should read Future for 22k channel points. Maybe one day. Okay, we still have one more problem though. Which is that we should probably change Priestess now. Because Mamon is kind of on a weird spot where she's the only enemy here. So let's get back to Priestess. I really don't remember what Priestess is. Hi, Priestess. Most intuitive connected card in the whole tarot deck. Priestess is a card of awareness. Listen to your instinct. Your mind knows far more than you think. When this card arises in your tarot, stop reading, stop looking for answers in the outside world. Turn within the guidance you seek. I need to listen to this again.
The High Priestess is primarily a card about intuition. You can see that represented by the crescent moon that is at her feet in the card. This card asks you to really work on your perceptive skills so that you can fine-tune your ability to hear that inner voice and receive those messages from the unconscious mind. She's also a card about a real depth of character and high level of self-awareness. She's also known as the keeper of esoteric knowledge.
What the hell is esoteric?
You see nestled in her lap in the card. Mind. She's also a card about tune your ability to hear that inner voice and a card about
hear your inner voice? Trump card that represents human wisdom. Kind of a female pope or perhaps an ancient Egyptian. For the accused heretics who were burnt at the stake for revering her in the 14th and 15th century, the priestess symbolized the prophecy of the return of the Holy Spirit, which was perceived as the female aspect of the Holy Trinity. High Priestess appears in the sequence as the fool decides he wants to develop his innate power, making a move towards becoming a magician. High Priestess is his first teacher, representing the inner life and the method containing it, as well as the contemplative study of nature of spiritual mystery. Adhere your chosen spiritual practice on a more regular basis. If you want the benefits of evolution, you have to cooperate with spirits. I guess we did have Headmaster Jane as one of the choices. We could go back to Headmaster Jane. Normal Castly? Esoteric is not explicable by science, I see. So specialized knowledge and interest. Calissa could also fit. Saint Castly? Castly. Castly the Scorch. Young Wonder, trifle at her peril, encountered kindness and love, commensurate cost of flight. I think Jane makes sense better. I don't know if we already used Princess Cat, but how about Princess Cat? Princess Cat? But High Priestess is a teacher, right? Hold on, the Priestess. Intuition, sacred knowledge, divine feminine, subconscious mind. 9-year-old genius who has memorized the entirety of Royal Library. Princess Cat is 9? I didn't know that. What the fuck? With her vast intellect, she has guided the Cat Kingdom to a golden age. I guess it does show that she's smart. Cat God with Raw? What? Princess is a pretty good choice. It is about knowledge. But rather, Making her a move towards becoming a magician. High Priestess is his first teacher, representing inner life and method for contacting it, as well as contemplative study of spiritual mystery. Yeah, I guess we can do Princess Cat. I think you're doing Gao for the Moon, but Amaterasu would fit as well. Yeah, that's not wrong. Wrong. But we also need someone for the Moon in that regards, and I guess you could put like some other Gaos, but I think currently Gao and Shadow Gao is already good enough. Yeah, okay, let's go with Princess then for Priestess. So no longer Mamon. I'm very sorry. Wait, hold on. Why is this? Why do I have another layer? In my side. Hold on, I just realized this. Where's my OBS? Okay. Wait, you guys can't see my layering, but I have 2 layers, and I think I just realized that I think after I post the March picture, I started drawing on the second layer. Yep. The second layer is the Moon, Sun, Judgment, World, and also March Simpson. This is what fucking layering. My god. I can't believe March Simpson ruins everything. Okay, so for Priestess, let's do Princess Cat. How does Princess Cat look again? She really is fucking tiny, goddamn. Ooh, her crown is really complicated. Okay, something like that. Something like that. Wait. Whoops. Why did I zoom in so much? Hold on. Something like that. There we go. There's your Priestess. Is she an isekai protagonist? Who? Maybe. The second layer has March Simpson. It's important. Yeah, exactly. Petition to make March Simpson the High Priestess. Can you imagine? No, March Simpson is already the star, so... Thought you were drawing a really chunky Princess Cat, not her head. I thought it's her body. No, it's just her head. I kinda don't want to make like everything super detailed. Also, oh my god, we're streaming for 3 hours already. And I've just been talking so fucking much. I'm actually already fucking tired. Okay, I want to make one at least. Maybe I should just make Hermit, because it's like the easiest one. Or I can make the World. The World would also be a good one to make. 3 hours with 1 March. Oh god. White Hangman? What do you want Hangman? You already did one? Which one? I mean, all of them I technically already did. It's just that I haven't actually done like any super seriously, so... let me get a drink. World is basically done. Yeah! No, but I still want to draw it a little bit more higher quality, you know? Because Hang Dimitama is funny. I still gotta think about... I don't think I wanna finish Dimitama Hangman just like that. I could do that. I could do that. Let's do that. I mean, yeah, it's like, I guess, but I wanna... I guess World is just basically gonna be like that, but I still wanna make it like higher quality, you know? Okay. How do I draw... what would be like a good background for the death card? Hold on, give me a second. Oh god, I'm fucking tired already, shit. Why is she upside down? Because she's the hangman. I need to find like a good way to... okay, what if we just start like... There we go, that's a good start for the card. And then we'll have okay, and then it's gonna be that. Wait, no, let's do this on another layer actually, hold on. Oh no, there's an ad running, isn't there? I think there's an ad running. There we go. There we go. Death. Why did I root Miru Syndrome instead of Dova? 4:12 AM, gotta go. Can't wait for VOD next time. I don't know if there's gonna be a next time, but yes, see you later, Yon. Thank you for stopping by. I couldn't have, as you mentioned, there was an ad showing up. Yeah, I saw my Twitch dashboard that suddenly the ad button like disappears, and I'm like, oh, just that's because an ad played, isn't there? Will you draw off stream? On the stream, I also got an ad. I might do some off stream, but I might still continue on stream. No, next time is gonna be the last Lucas stream. Yeah, goodbye. You're not gonna see me anymore. Okay, let's see. Bahamut cat. Let me get picture of Awakened Bahamut. Wait though, I have a picture of Bahamut myself. Hold on, give me a second. This is where my handy Battle Cats asset thingy comes to play. Except that I don't have a PNG of Awakened Bahamut apparently. Surprising, I only have a JPEG of it. I guess I don't use this that much, but oh, oops. Also, anyone want to take a wild guess on where I found this music? Dova Syndrome isn't actually a game. Dova Syndrome is like kind of like a, what do you call it? It's kind of like a place where you can just get musics to play for free. kind of deal. It's like they make like copyright free music basically. But I found this music and I thought it was cool anyways, but it's not like I found it randomly. Oh, I don't know how to... Something like that. Okay, yeah, that should be good. Let's move this away now. What does he even look like? I still don't really understand how he looks like. Lizard ass bitch. Wait, I'm on the wrong fucking layer. Oh my god. God damn it. Why does this always happen? Pick City is a banger, it really is. Are you gonna make a highlight? I don't know about that. There are many streams that don't require a highlight, yeah. I don't think I wanna burden myself with like highlight on every single streams. I mean, I might, but I wouldn't like make a promise out of it. It's like, let's make him a bit more smug. Something like that. I still regret work program is just for art because I'm slacking off art. This is Psy. Paint Tool Psy. Will you drop them all and post them in like Discord or Twitter or finish one, post one? I don't know. I don't have any plans for now. I'm just doing things because I'm doing things. I just did the stream because I thought it would be fun. But I probably will post it somewhere. I just haven't really thought of it that much. This feels wrong. Boy, I've never drawn a Wicked Bahamut before. I didn't realize how much fucking detail is in his fucking head. How much fucking spikes are in his gigantic ass forehead. Hard to take note of the details of Wicked Bahamut when he just constantly moves. That kind of reminds me, you know, Wicked Bahamut have like that weird, like unused animation sorta when you're on Into the Future 2 and you're close to beating when you're Into the Future 3, sorry. When you're Into the Future 3 and every time you open the Into the Future menu, you just see like the silhouette of Wicked Bahamut, and it's like he have like this weird idle animation where he kind of like flaps his wings, but he's just like standing normally. I kind of wonder what the plan was for that, because like, well, clearly he doesn't have that animation now because he constantly moves. But there is an animation where he's just like idling and is just like standing still. Kind of wonder what happened to that. Maybe he was like planned to not attack that fast, but then they just said, nah, fuck it, let's make him busted as hell. I always love the stupid ass cat face like in literally every single thing. It's just like sometimes you just get like a really sick ass unit design and then they'll just have like a stupid ass cat face in the middle of them. And it's just like, yeah. that like reminds you, it's like, yeah, this is Battle Cats. Like despite everything cool that's going on, it's like, yep, it's still Battle Cats. No, the shoulder isn't far enough, I feel. Maybe like somewhere around there is better. Maybe that's a bit too far. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. There we go. I'm back from making a massive shit. What did I miss? It's just me drawing Awakened Bahamut. Bahamut creepypasta. Hello, yes, I came here to destroy your house. You don't remember? You guys know that back when Awakened Bahamut first came out, majority of the community were actually not sure what to think and actually thought that Bahamut might not be a good unit. Which is a bit surprising at this point, but like, yeah, when Bahamut first came out, a lot of the people actually were like skeptical of Awakened Bahamut. We weren't actually sure that he's gonna be a good unit at all. One of the main reasons for that is simply for once, back then, there wasn't really that much like, there wasn't really much of like, rushers in general. There's like Yukimura, I guess, but Yukimura back then wasn't even that great because of his only evolved form. He's kind of just like, okay. So when Awakened Bahamut first came out, you know what he was actually like, what he was compared to back then? He was compared to Manic Flying, or Gracebird rather. People see him as Gracebird the first time he came out because of his low range and similar range with Gracebird. And it's kind of just like, oh yeah, he's just like Gracebird if you spawn 10 of them at once, I guess. And it might be absurd then, but it might be absurd now, but like back then, it's just like the concept of rushers are just unheard of. That was only like we haven't like tested the unit at that point. I think it's important to note that too. It's like we haven't tested the unit at that point. We kind of just like saw the stats and go like, huh, that stat doesn't look, that stat looks weird. It's like, this is very high damage, but only 200 range? It's like, that's kind of weird. Because back then, the meta for everything is range, range, range. Everything is very dependent on range. If your unit doesn't have that much of a range, it's probably not that great. So when A Bahamut came out, it's like, 200 range? I don't know about that. And then people started, you know, actually using it hands-on, and, you know, obviously, you know what happens next. People were like, wait a minute, this unit's busted. This unit's kinda cracked, actually. Why is his mouth open in the tarot card? Because I think it would be funnier and cooler. Nothing of Bahamut being a good unit. That sounds wrong considering nowadays he's constantly praised. Yeah, it's just like a very short amount of like period of time. It's not that we thought about that for a very long time. It's kind of just like we saw the stats and we go, huh, that doesn't look right. And then we tried it out. I was like, wait, actually, yeah, that hella busted. The mentality of past fascinates me and making me strange. Yeah, it is. It's a different time for sure. I just beat him 4-star stall. Good on you. Congratulations on your ED. Speed, low range you wanted? It's yours, my friend. Will it be colored? I don't know. I don't really like coloring stuff, honestly. I think I'll just leave it as this for now. Death. Yeah. I kind of like how this looks already. Even, I mean, also just the fact that the background is already gray and Bahamut is also already gray. I think this is nice. I'm gonna like paste this somewhere. I'm gonna put this on my Discord. I think I'll put this on my Discord art. I'm just gonna like copy this real quick. Okay, let me just crop this. Okay, let me post this on my Discord art channel. Okay. There we go. I posted it on my art Discord channel. If you want to take a look at it. So yeah, that's that. I'll probably continue this off stream. Maybe I'll continue this on stream. Who knows? I'll see about it. I might actually do this more on stream. Maybe if I have time, like on the Battlecat stream, I'll start continuing on the tarot cards. But yeah, who knows? Imagine being good at drawing. I mean, to be fair, for the most part, I kind of just trace. Well, not trace, but like, you know, I literally just like have the reference right next to me, so it's not that hard. By the way, imagine Bahamut making the Ahmed fire my laser thing. I don't really see that. I think. Also, I like men. Good on you, I guess. Good on you. ED is very funny. I've beaten ED Invasion without special talents. I get Galo Surge immune, but it doesn't help in Soul. I don't think there's that much special talents that helps that much in ED Invasion, to be fair. It's probably just like Rice Ball, and that's about it. Which even then, it's like you don't really need Rice Ball to be talented for the most part, because you can probably just gonna mainly use it for chaining. But yeah, thank you for coming to the stream. Thank you for watching. This has been my tarot art stream. Maybe one day we'll actually do a tarot card stream. Who knows? But yeah, time to find someone to raid. Thank you for sticking by, even though it's not a Battlecat stream. Well, I guess it's partially a Battlecat stream. It's sort of a Battlecat stream, but it's not really a Battlecat stream. It's like half Battlecat stream. It's sort of both. Maybe I should put the category as Battlecats to get more viewers after all. Let's see who's live. Da 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 la 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 la. Da 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 na na da 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 da. Oh. Cherry's doing a birthday stream. Oh, it's Corpse Party! Oh, I haven't seen this game in a while. Okay, let's rate Cherry. She's doing a birthday stream, I believe. So have a tell her a happy birthday, I guess. Cherry baby. There we go. All right, so let's rate Cherry. She's doing, I think, like a 24-hour birthday stream or some sort. She's playing Corpse Party, which is a horror RPG Maker horror game that I haven't seen in a while. Racket is live playing Minecraft. No, he isn't. I am dumb. What? Okay. But anyways, thank you for coming to the stream. For the raid. No, actually, let's not do that. I think we're just gonna do like happy. Happy birthday, happy. But what's a good birthday rate message? Birthday cat raid. How about that? Just do birthday cat raid if you have my emotes. If you don't have my emote, use cat bag instead. Use that if you don't have my emote. Alright, thank you for coming to the stream. Be nice to Cherry. Although I forgot to say, Cherry's audience is 18 plus. So if you're not 18 plus, you can still say happy birthday, but like probably don't stay around for long. I don't want to be responsible for that. So yeah, have a nice day. Thank you for coming to the stream. I'll see you later. Bye bye.